One of the most intense paranormal events in the history of the United States took place in an old farmhouse in Harrisville, Rhode Island. The ghostly infestation of the property, commonly known as the Old Arnold Estate, which was built in 1736, remains to this day one of the best documented cases of a haunting, supernatural events, and possession ever recorded. The story began when Roger and Carolyn Perron decided to buy the Old Arnold Estate with the hope that it would be a great place for their 5 daughters, Cindy, Nancy, April, Christine, and Andrea, to grow up. Perhaps they should have known that there may be something of concern about the old farmhouse when they were told by a previous renter to leave the lights on at night. It appears that the paranormal activity began to be experienced by the Perron family immediately after they moved into the home on Round Top Hill. Before long, they found themselves surrounded by an array of spirits from various periods of the home's long history. Among the phantom figures of the Perron house was that of Mrs. John Arnold, who at age 93 hung herself in their barn. There was also the tragic story of 11-year-old Prudence Arnold. Prudence was sexually assaulted and murdered on the property, and the crime was never solved, although the murderer was long believed to be one of the Arnold farmhands. There are also believed to be the ghosts of 2 drowning victims who lost their lives in a nearby creek, and the spirits of 4 men found frozen to death on the farm. Other ghosts were believed to be those of forgotten Arnold family members who lived and died on the farm for the 8 generations. Despite the strangeness of the situation, the Perron girls seemed to enjoy the spirits that roamed the old farmhouse. Many of the apparitions seemed to be harmless and even amusing. One of the commonly seen ghosts was believed to be that of Johnny Arnold. The Perron girls called him Manny. Johnny Arnold had hanged himself in the attic of the home in the 1700s, but as a ghost he seemed to be at peace. Manny appeared in a semi-transparent form and enjoyed watching the girls play, but would always disappear if eye contact was made. There was also the sweeping ghost. This spirit was never seen, but the apparently female spirit made herself well known to the family. On many occasions, while they were in the living room or other rooms nearby, the Perrons would hear the sound of someone sweeping in the kitchen. When they entered the kitchen, they would find that the broom had been moved from the spot it had been, and the floor had been freshly swept, with a neat pile of dust left on the floor, ready to be disposed of. Unfortunately, as the parents spent more time in the old farmhouse, it began to become obvious that not all the spirits in the home were harmless. There was something violent and evil in the home, and it seemed to focus mostly on Carolyn Perron. The spirit responsible for the violence directed at Miss Perron, which included some significant physical wounds, was believed to be that of Bathsheba Sherman. Bathsheba was described by someone who knew her as vile and disgusting, a woman who enjoyed beating her workers at the Arnold farm. It was believed that Bathsheba was a witch or a Satanist and responsible for the deaths of many young children left in her care. In fact, Bathsheba was charged with the murder of a child. The charges, however, were later dropped by prosecutors. But Bathsheba Sherman eventually hanged herself on the property, reportedly as part of a pact with the devil. As bad as the ghost of Bathsheba may have been, perhaps the darkest and most evil entity in the Perron house was never really talked about. It has only been mentioned vaguely by one of the Perron girls, Andrea Perron, who stated, "Let's just say there was a very bad male spirit in the home, with 5 little girls." After living in the haunted house on Round Top Hill for 10 years, the Perron family moved out. The paranormal activity, however, continued, according to Norma Sutcliffe, who followed the Perrons as residents of the Old Arnold farm, and she says it persists to this day. Sutcliffe reports that there are blue orbs, banging doors, and what she describes as ghost fog still present in the home. If this story sounds remotely familiar, it's because the Perron family haunting was the basis for the film The Conjuring.